New World has been out for a little under a week at this stage. It's got its first big weekend coming up. Time for first impressions from me after playing this week. The first thing you've got to mention is the queues. Unfortunately, the launch experience for an MMO, despite the strengths or weaknesses of the game, is going to affect your general feeling towards it. For me, this week, it's been rather frustrating. A lot of queues. They've tried hard to give you options by adding new servers, options for you to jump over there while you're queuing for the other one. But, you know, if you're anything like me, then you want to keep playing the character that you've worked on in that initial week. You don't want to be starting a new character and really getting into it. So even though they've added that facility and they've added more capacity to servers, there's still a queue. For this video, I wanted to log in to check some things. It's midday in Europe right now, and I'm still sitting in a queue of 200 people, and that queue goes down very slowly. So I'm waiting about half an hour to get into the game. At peak time, can be even longer than that. I've even chosen a low population server with no big streamers on it, and I'm still waiting a long time. It is affecting how I feel about the game. I can't be guaranteed that I'm going to be able to log in. I need to set aside some time because I know I'm going to be sitting in a queue. That does affect how you feel about a game. It is affecting me, and I'm kind of battling through it and just trying to be patient. I think we've got to be patient. The good news is that the game for a AAA MMO release has been massive. It's been over 5 years since we've had one really on this scale, and the enthusiasm and the interest in the game is huge. Well over 500,000 people playing, and going towards the million at certain times. Loads of people watching on Twitch and things. So the enthusiasm for the game is definitely there. Whether that is the game or the fact that this is a AAA MMO and the first one in a long time is an interesting question to ask. I don't know if people are starved for this type of MMO experience, and that is partly to what explains the kind of huge interest. I didn't expect it. As we are often told by mainstream media, MMOs are an old genre that people are not that interested in. New World seems to call that into question, doesn't it, by the amount of interest. So apart from queues, what is the game like to play? Actually, I'm really enjoying it. The first thing is the combat. I am not missing hotbar MMO combat at all. I really like the more twitchy style that they've gone to here, the more pared down abilities you have. 2 trees in most where you can choose different weapons freely, a little bit like Final Fantasy XIV, so you're not locked into one type of weapon. You can level whatever you like. Not sure how it will work later on as you get higher in your character's level. If you want to level a new weapon type, we'll have to see if you're able to do that once you're at a high level. But for right now, I can switch between weapons, and that's really interesting. Keeps things fresh, keeps things interesting, allows you to experiment without having to re-roll a character. Yeah, but like I said, I really like the more twitchy combat. I definitely feel like whether I win or lose, how much I get hit is to do with how I time my blocks, how I dodge around. I'm getting to the stage now at level 15 where I can I know that I can avoid the default mob's attacks if I'm patient and I time things, and if I'm rushing, I'm going to get battered. But it's less dice rolls, you know, just determining whether you hit or miss. Whether you hit or miss and the enemy hits you is determined by how well you know your skills and how skilled you are at blocking, parrying, dodging, that kind of thing. I really enjoy it. I'm interested to see later on how much complexity there is between characters. A lot of this, I think, is tied to the fact that the game was initially a very PvP centric game, and they wanted, and it still is to an extent, but not as much as it was. Talking about that, the questing is pretty good so far. It's very slick in the way that it pulls you through the first few levels into the teens. That's all I've experienced so far. But it threads through the crafting and teaches you how to do that, teaches you all the mechanics like fast traveling and stuff, which some games don't do. It I wouldn't say it holds your hand necessarily. It's actually, it feels natural that these things are being introduced and they're tied into your main progression, the main progression of your character. There are some things that I immediately notice about the game, like the fact that there are no NPC vendors. Items are crafted by players or they're bought from faction NPCs. The 3 factions in the game are tied to the PvP and the territory control, which I'll talk about in a little while. But it's good in that hopefully that encourages people to craft in the game. The crafting is something that I'm enjoying an awful lot. As I say, I'm very early on at this stage, but everything seems useful and you seem to be able to do a lot of different things. I'm sure you need to specialize at some point, but for right now, for instance, let's talk about specifics. So I've crafted myself a weapon, which wasn't that difficult. I've 2 weapons, my musket and my rifle. I've crafted myself the potions that I need in combat. I've crafted myself the food that I need to regenerate outside combat. Crafted myself a bag. So you definitely feel like the crafting, not only is it something that you can use to make money, potentially to sell to other players on the auction hall, the trading outpost they call it in this game, you can also be very effectively gear yourself up using the various crafting things. Gathering is a little bit laborious. There are kind of some weird caveats that I think might impact the crafting later on. For instance, the faction store sells a lot of stuff. All the things that I've just said I've crafted. If I had focused on just getting my faction and grinding faction rep, I could have bought all those things with the factions. So I'd be interested to see how the crafting stacks up once people get really heavy into the PvP, and that is the main thing that they do. Will there be any need for crafted items? How does the PvE economy mesh with the PvP? We'll see. It seems to be, the PvP seems to be quite hard to get XP for right now. There are many different tiers, so I think it's going to take a long time for people to get up there. But well, maybe not. I've seen people powering through this game. I'm very much taking my time with it. The world, I like it. I like the setting. It's a little bit hit and miss in terms of visually, in terms of the sound effects and stuff. How the game feels, it feels very atmospheric, but in terms of world building, the quests can be fairly perfunctory, and whether you think that is a pro or a con is up to you. I kind of like it. I'd never liked overly verbose dialoguing quests, but I have to say that the themes of the world and what is actually going on is very generic and not particularly engaging. Some nebulous corruption that has to be staved off by the characters in the game, and nothing really has much of a personality. There's no big bad that I can see so far. It's just a general kind of theme park for progression, which I suppose a lot of these types of games are ultimately, and maybe it doesn't matter if there's a really strong story there. If you're looking for that, it's kind of, I feel it's weak there, but I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for interesting character development, interesting weapons to use, crafting to do, and it has all those things. So it's keeping me engaged. I feel like the level progression up to where I am right now has been fairly good. It's started to slow down. I really noticed a difference now between level 14 and 15, slowed down. A lot more traveling. You really need to start using the fast travel system once you get into the teens. It's going to take you a long time to travel anywhere. There are no mounts in the game, for instance. The business model so far seems okay. The cash shop is purely cosmetic. It's a buy-to-play game, so you pay once. There's no subscription fee, but there's a cash shop, and I'm sure they'll be selling expansions in the future. They have said that the cash shop will be cosmetic at least into 2022, so they do plan on selling boosts at some point in the future. I noticed one of the crafting stations, you can craft boosts to XP, which I kind of like, a crafting profession that can craft trade skill XP boosts. What is it? I think it's the workshop that you can do that in. But they do plan on selling XP boosts later, I read. They couch it as an opportunity to give people who are a bit behind catch up. But we'll see. You never know. You never know. This is a thing that games are doing a fair amount now. It's purely cosmetic for a time, and then they bring other stuff in. Whether you believe that that is to help people who are behind, or it's just a sneaky way to gradually put in stuff that might be more pay to win, I don't know. But right now it doesn't seem bad at all. It's something that I've kind of, oh yeah, there's a cash shop. You see people running around with some of the armor that's on sale at the moment, but it's cosmetic armor. It looks naff, if you ask me, so I haven't bought anything. There are key things that I look for in an MMO that are missing though. The lack of spatial chat. I don't know if they want everyone to be on VoIP, but that's a recipe for a fairly miserable gaming experience a lot of the time for me. So I'm definitely not running around listening to people mouth breathing into microphones and screaming kids in the background while I'm playing a game. So I miss the spatial chat. I miss the fact that people aren't just chatting in the game and I can see what they're saying, either via speech bubbles or there's world chat and stuff, but it doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel like you're embodying the character and speaking in spatial. It's kind of weird. It doesn't feel like the characters are really there in the world, just speaking naturally. You're in the various chat. You're in the world chat. You're in the faction chat. You're in the help channel. All that stuff, and it's that lack of social organic RP mechanics extends to things like the lack of emotes. There are so few. It's crazy. You can unlock emotes because they're considered cosmetic. Is it cosmetic to be able to communicate well in a game without voice chat? I really don't want to be on voice chat 24/7, so I need emotes. I need chat options. It's not a game apart from the overall sense of the world, it looking nice and getting a sense of place from the cities, which are very evocative of a kind of a pirate kingdom. Apart from that, it's not a game that I think encourages roleplay very much. You're going to have to make it happen if you want it to happen. Silly things that this is an ongoing debate I've had with other MMO players, and it's something anyone who's interested in MMOs wants the ability to sit in chairs. I want to sit in chairs. Maybe you can do it once you unlock the housing. I haven't got enough money to buy a house yet, so I'd be interested once I buy my house, start furnishing that, whether I am going to be able to put chairs down and have a sit at my desk in the game or lie down on my bed. I like that kind of thing in games, and I miss it when it isn't there. It's not there in New World. So yeah, it's good. There are good and bad. I can see why the reviews are mixed at the minute. There's a lot that's there that's good. I really enjoy the combat. I like the feedback that you're getting as you're leveling it. You feel rewarded. You feel like you're getting more power as you unlock your skills. The world is evocative and interesting in terms of a piratey kingdom with a dark, weird thing going on. It's kind of strange. It's like that old idea that I remember early MMOs always trying to rationalize why you're able to be reborn all over, repeatedly. You're able to respawn. They have to come up with an in-universe reason for it, and this island where no one ever dies seems to be it for the New World. I wonder how much of the setting is built around that idea of how do we explain everyone's respawning. I don't think you need to explain it. We just accept it. It's fine. It's magic. Whatever. You don't need to build a world around it. But yeah, I'm enjoying all that. But there are things that I can see that are kind of missing that I look for in MMOs that are not there, such as the social features, the tools for role-playing, world building. You can't build anything out in the world, although I like the way that the crafting works and you're able to chop down trees. It's quite fun hunting the minerals, and like if you're looking for rocks and things, metals, you have to go clambering up mountains sometimes, and sourcing some of the materials for crafting clothes and things is interesting. The plants, you can see them in the distance, and visually you get a sense, you can look across the landscape and see what's a resource and what isn't as you go. I kind of like that. It's immersive. It's not got an icon on it that says, I'm a bean plant, you can make bean soup out of me. You have to learn what's what, and the map helps a little bit with that. You can kind of look what you're looking for. I've done less crafting in the live game than I did in the beta. Less wandering around. I've been more kind of mainlining the quests and just trying to get my character's level up in the windows when I can get through the queues. So, is it any good? Yes, it's good, but it's not without its missing features and faults as an MMO experience. I think it will give you some things. It will give you a satisfying combat experience. It will give you options in terms of building a character and a beautiful world to explore. But in terms of long-term investment and role-playing a character, I wonder how sticky it's going to be. I think a lot of that will be to do with the housing. So that's my next project, to have a look at the housing. And I'll do another video once I've done that and got a few more levels. I think that's the way to approach a new MMO. I've been looking at a lot of old MMOs and saying, are they worth playing in 2021? Well, this is a 2021 game. I can still ask the question, is it any good at the various stages as I go up the levels? So stick around for that, sub up and like. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been Napyet, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.